I call Adrian Rugahui.
Tēnā koe te māngai o te whare o tira, tēnā tātou katoa. So it's a great pleasure to stand and make a contribution to the Civil Defence Emergency Management Amendment Bill. I live in a flood zone just south of the Whangaihu River that has flooded 5 times in the last 11 years. All of my neighbours north of me get flooded. I'm very lucky that I've not yet been flooded. What I've learned over that period of time is that our communities are very resilient. In 2004, we had a 1 in 100 year flood. In 2006, we had a 1 in 50 year flood. In 2009, I think it was, they stopped putting a date on, a time frame on it, and we've had 2 more since then. I think the response from the House has been similar to how our communities work together in these emergency situations. I think it's very important that the transition from response to recovery is one that includes the community. And maybe within the new, what's in this bill doesn't quite do exactly what we would have hoped for. But overall, we will continue to support this bill, and through the committee stage, hopefully try to come to some amendments through SOPs to make it a better bill. We must strive to make that better. So the removal of the new section 57A of the Strategic Recovery Plan, the Rangitike District Council made in its submission basically said that they accepted the new section 57A. What they did say was that it would impose further cost to them, but it was a cost that they were willing to accept. Now that it's removed, and I wasn't actually on the select committee for this bill, so I'm not fully informed about why it was removed, but it would occur to me that, you know, like the old saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I think that the removal of a section that requires planning is something that ought to be returned in there. And if there are problems with the wording of what was then the section 57A, then we should work together to try to make it better so that we can plan to make the transition from response to recover much better. So there are also other new powers that are given to the likes of police. And I'm reminded of in 2004 when my 90-something-year-old neighbour refused to leave her house. She was knee-high in water. The river was going through her house, and the helicopter was flying above her home, and she would not leave without her dogs, all 3 of them. And so the dogs got rescued first, and then she left as well. But under the new powers given to police, they will be able to direct the evacuation of any premises. So she would have been breaking the law. Obviously in 2004 she wasn't, because they allowed her to have the dogs rescued first, and then she left as well. So there's I want to follow up on my colleague's kōrero about what's not in this bill, and the lack of time frame to address some pretty important issues. As I said, when an area has had 5 floods over a period of just over a decade, you can imagine the impact and the trauma that is carried by the people that actually live in those areas. Now, after each flood, our community loses at least one of our neighbours, because they move, they go somewhere else, and then we get new neighbours. From my calculation, in a little settlement of about 12 houses, there's probably about only 2 of the original people that lived in our community in 2004. And I remember going down to help out with my neighbours and helping them set up in the local hall. And one husband turned to his wife and she obviously was thinking, please, this must be the last time. And I remember his words, maybe one more time. And they're still there. But my point is around that, is that in areas that have these occurrences a number of times, surely the local authorities and the government, surely it's time that we sit down, and I acknowledge the kōrero from the Greens on climate change, because from my personal opinion, we're dealing with these issues specifically because of the ongoing effects of climate change. And I just think that some of the citizens of New Zealand deserve a better deal over the long-term effects of continually being flooded. So I'm going to leave it there. That's what's not in the bill, but I support what is in the bill, notwithstanding some concerns over some of the clauses. Nō reira, tēnā tātou.
Maureen Pugh.